If you're interested in this book and are thinking of picking it up, just know that you're about to start an epic adventure. You're going to travel to beautiful and terrifying places and meet characters that you love and hate. Hey guys, it's Jay, and today I'm going to be reviewing Homeland by R.A. Salvatore. This is a bind-up collection of the first 3 books in the Dark Elf Trilogy, so I'll put up a picture of what the normal cover will look like. There's actually a lot of covers for this book, but I'll put up the most well-known cover. This book saved me from a huge reading slump in high school, and I would recommend it to anybody who loves fantasy or wants to start fantasy, because this is a great start. Homeland is the first book in the Dark Elf Trilogy, but the Dark Elf Trilogy is part of something much bigger. I'll try to find a diagram to show you guys, but this is all part of the Legend of Drizzt series, so there is different story arcs within this series. There is the Dark Elf Trilogy, the Icewind Dale Trilogy, the Legacy of the Drow, the Hunter's Blade Trilogy. I think you guys can kind of get it now, but it's part of a huge series that is the Legend of Drizzt. Now, all of these books take place in the Forgotten Realms, and the Forgotten Realms is a campaign setting for D&D created by Ed Greenwood in 1967, and it was actually a setting he made for a lot of his childhood stories. And Ed Greenwood has gone on to write a lot of Forgotten Realm novels. I'm actually really surprised I have not read any of these. I have just been way too busy reading R.A. Salvatore, and I still have a lot to finish in the Legend of Drizzt series. So the Dark Elf Trilogy, starting with Homeland, was actually not originally the first book. The first book was the Crystal Shard in the Icewind Dale Trilogy. But after a lot of response from his fans, R.A. Salvatore realized that everybody really liked Drizzt as a character, so he decided to write the backstory of Drizzt, and that is what the Dark Elf Trilogy is. Now, I completely recommend starting with the Dark Elf Trilogy, not the Crystal Shard. You'll get a lot more information. So Homeland is about the early life of Drizzt Do'Urden. Drizzt Do'Urden is a Drow elf, and Drow elves are universally known to be an evil race. They have dark black skin, sometimes depicted as purplish skin, and white hair and red eyes. They live in the subterranean world called the Underdark, and they worship this deity called Lolth, which is the Spider Queen. As you can tell, they're definitely a pretty evil-sounding race, but when Drizzt was born, he was born with purple eyes instead of the usual red, and from a very young age, he had morals built into him. He could tell that he doesn't really fit in with the evils of the society he was born into, and he was born into the 10th noble house of Menzoberranzan. Menzoberranzan, I know that's a mouthful, is the name of the city they live in the Underdark. And in this society, women are held above men because they can become the handmaidens of Lolth. And because Drizzt was the 3rd son born to a noble family, he is to be sacrificed to Lolth when he becomes a certain age. Now, Zaknafine, which is Drizzt's father, is also kind of hard on the outside, but he does have some inner morals like Drizzt, and he feels compassion for Drizzt, and he sees that Drizzt has this skill in fighting and agility, so he convinces everybody that Drizzt should become a warrior instead of being sacrificed, and so he is sent to a warrior academy. The thing that I love about R.A. Salvatore's books is that there is really memorable characters. At a point in this book, Drizzt obtains a onyx figurine, and this is something that's going to stick with him for a long time in this series, just so you know. From this figurine, he can summon a panther named Gwynyavar from a different realm. Gwynyavar is his main companion when he is alone, and I absolutely love Gwynyavar. There are a lot more memorable characters, such as Belwar, the Dark Gnome, also known as a Sverneblin. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know if I'm pronouncing any of these words right. And I just want you to know that if you are reading this book, this is just the start. Like, there is so much more that happens in this series. The setting in this book is so good. R.A. Salvatore is a master of world building, in my opinion. When I was reading this book and I was in the tunnels of the Underdark, I actually felt like I was starting to get tunnel vision as I read, and it just really sucked you in. Now, once again, I just want to stress the fact that this is just the beginning. Like, if you read this book and you liked it, you need to read on, because it gets so much better, in my opinion. And I have to say that I have learned so much from R.A. Salvatore as far as writing goes, especially writing fantasy. Another thing that I learned and developed from R.A. Salvatore's writing is his description of combat. The fighting scenes in The Legend of Drizzt are so amazing. It actually has the best sword fighting I've ever read in any book series. If you know of any other books that you think do it better, please let me know, because I would like to read them. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this book. I love it, and I recommend it to anybody wanting to start fantasy, anybody who already likes fantasy. If you've read The Name of the Wind, or if you like Brandon Sanderson, I am sure you're going to like R.A. Salvatore. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, but I really like it. and I hope you guys will like RX Salvatore as well. Thank you guys for watching, I hope you enjoyed. If you want to see more reviews for the Legend of Drizzt series, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down there, because I plan on reviewing every book in the Legend of Drizzt series eventually. Alright, I will see you guys next time.
Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention is that drow elves have certain powers that they are born with, so they can levitate a bit, and they can make a fairy fire, which is basically a harmless fire that they can just make appear anywhere. And they use that to mark things for hunting, so they put a fairy fire on a beast so that they can track it. And then also they have infrared vision, and they can see in the dark, hence the red eyes, though Drizzt has purple eyes.